Hi, this is Tamiko Siri. Welcome to my channel where I walk first-time and repeat home buyers through the home buying process. I also help homeowners who are looking to sell their home due to like divorce, relocation, probate, they're upsizing or downsizing. I help walk them through their process as well. If this is you, then you have come to the right channel. You will get a dose of market information as well as market trends as well. That way you're always in the know. So tune in every week. I'm going to have a new video every week, so you don't want to miss it. So hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, and the notification bell. That way you will never miss a new video. And if you have questions, please put those in the comment section, and also comment if you have something that you'd like to ask or say or suggest in terms of a topic. If I don't know, I will find out, but I will answer. So I'll read those and I will answer. So please don't hesitate to put anything in the comment section. I will answer you. All right. As well, if you find that this channel has information that is good for someone that you know, please share it. I would appreciate it. Okay. So I have some notes and I will be looking over here so that I don't miss a beat, because I've got a lot of information to cover with you guys today in this video. So I want to make sure that that I don't miss anything. I don't want to miss any of my points. So you may want to grab a piece of paper and a pen just in case you want to take notes. This is a video, so you can definitely replay it. But for the purpose of just making sure you don't miss something, or if it's something that you may want to ask, you can jot that down so you can get you a piece of paper. But just to get started, do you find yourself sometimes just feeling a little bit overwhelmed with the home buying process and not quite sure where to start? I know I did when I first bought my home. I didn't know what I was doing. It was just so confusing and so overwhelming, and I really had to depend on the experts. But if that's you, you have definitely come to the right video. This is the right place, because today, that's what I'm talking about. I am walking you through the entire home buying process from A to Z, from beginning to end. And I'll talk about things like getting your pre-approval, how to submit offers, what is an inspection, and we're going to talk about everything from the beginning of the process to getting your keys, so to speak. So after viewing this, you'll definitely be better equipped and able to navigate your home buying process, your journey to home ownership. It's so exciting. I know I was excited. And I'm always excited when I'm working with buyers and sellers, but it is exciting. And I know it can be overwhelming and you can get nervous. So you're definitely at the right place. Also, while I'm thinking about it, check out Ciara Elaine's video. I watched it and it was so helpful. How to buy a house in 2022 and do this now to buy in 2022. It gives such a great detailed explanation of the pre-approval process with the mortgage lender. And that is your first step. Yeah, that's your first step. So that video is awesome and you definitely want to check it out. So I'll leave all the information in the description and a link to the video. That way you can find it easily, but you do want to check that out. All right. So let's get right into it. All right. I don't want this to be boring, and I'm a little bit animated sometimes. So let's get started. And again, don't forget to write down your questions as we go. All right. So usually when I'm working with buyers, what I like to do is go over my first step. It's my first step now. The first step is really pre-approval, but this is the first step. So you have to have something called upfront monies. And I like to go over that with buyers because I want to make sure that since we are just getting started with the process, that they know some of the monies they will need to have pretty quickly once they have an executed contract. And we'll get into all of that. But I'm just saying some of these words because you will hear them later, but it'll make more sense once I go over it later. But So anyway, so the first steps, and keep this in mind, and you may want to jot this down. There's really like 4 pieces or 4 parts to your upfront cost, which is what I call them. You have upfront costs, and then you have closing costs, which is at the end. So you have cost upfront, and you have closing costs at the end. All right, that's a good way to remember it. So your earnest money is one thing you need to make sure you have, and that's 1% of the 1% of the sales price. So 1% of the sales price is your earnest money. All right. So you need to have that, because as soon as you're executed, and we'll go over that, but as soon as you're executed, that needs to get to the title company. And at least, let me also back up just a little bit. I'm in Texas. I'm licensed in Texas. So these are going to be some of the requirements and some of the things that we practice here in Texas. Depending on your state, it could be different. And if you do live in another state and you do have a question, just let me know anyway, and let me know what state you're in, because I can reach out to another realtor partner, or I can find the information for you. Okay? So don't feel like you'll be left out just because you're not in Texas. All right? You're missing some of the heat. I can tell you that much. Anyway, number 1, you need for your upfront money, meaning before you even execute on a contract or get anything done, you need your earnest money, which is 1% of the sales price. Number 2, you need something that we call termination option fee. And that's going to be a set amount. You'll talk to your real estate agent to see what that amount is. Sometimes that's all dependent upon market conditions. But you'll need your termination option fee, and it's usually just a couple of $100 usually, but it just really depends on the market and where you are, if they even practice that. But we do practice that in Texas. I'll explain what that is later. You also need your inspection fee. Your inspector will let you know how much the inspection cost, and then you also will need an appraisal fee, and your lender will let you know how much the appraisal will be. All right? So those are kind of like the 4 pieces of upfront cost that I like to go over with all of my buyers. That way we don't get out, in the field or out in the streets, the real estate streets as I call them, looking for homes, and then you find a home you love. I have this conversation with you, and then you don't have your earnest money, and you can't borrow it. So if you don't have that, we can't move forward. So I have this conversation with everyone when we first meet. I go over the entire home buying process, just like I'm about to do with you, just to make sure that everybody has everything they need, so there's no disappointment once they find their dream home. All right, so I hope you got that. Make sure you take notes on that, and we will get to step number, I guess this would be really number 1, because that wasn't a step. That's just letting you know what you need up front. But the first step in the home buying process is getting pre-approved. That's why I mentioned that video by Ciara Elaine. Getting pre-approved is the number 1 step, because your lender needs to actually look at your income. Your lender is going to look at your credit, and also just any factors and any other factors or things that will help them to determine how much home you can afford. So you want to make sure your credit's good and that you're paying your bills on time and doing all those things that we all know we should be doing. And in terms of income, if you're able to save money and also show reserves, sometimes that makes for a very strong file in the mortgage world. And your credit, of course, is going to look at all the risk factors that you may or may not bring to the table. So you want to make sure you keep your credit in check, because again, your lender is loaning you thousands and thousands of dollars. So they're looking at, how much risk do I have with this buyer if I loan this money out to this buyer? So you just want to make sure that you're watching your credit and paying your bills on time, keeping your credit card balances low. It used to be 30% of your balance of your credit line. Then it went down to I think it may be down at 10%. I probably need to look that up because I usually try to keep up with that. But you want to keep your credit limit to balance ratio really, really low, because the lower it is, the better. All right. That's probably another video. I do have a credit video that I did years ago. I'll probably bring that back and refresh it. But keep your credit great, manage your money, and keep your income, in check, because those are the main two things that your lender is looking at. They'll probably ask you for a lot of different paperwork and like W-2s, paycheck stubs, and what else do I remember having to give as lists? Paycheck stubs, W-2s, your bank statements, and then if you have any kind of savings accounts such as 401ks, investment accounts, you want to also get that information gathered. You may even have to dig up things on child support if you pay child support, but I'm not getting all into that because I'm really not trying to go too into depth on each step. I am going to take each step and make a series out of it, so keep your eye out for that, but not for this video because it'll get too complicated. So anyway, you're getting pre-approved. That means you're talking to a lender so that they can check usually your credit and income and see if they are able to let you know your pre-approval amount and if you can move forward purchasing your home, or if there's a few things you need to work on and revisit the home buying process later. So it's not a bad thing to try to go ahead and get pre-approved even when you're not quite ready, because that way you'll know what you need to work on, if anything. All right, so that's first step. Let's just say you're pre-approved. Now you're ready to do what? The home search. That's step number 2 in the process. You're now searching for homes. This will be based on how much you can afford, and then any requirements that you have. Make sure that you're talking to your real estate agent, letting them know if you need to have your home pretty much based around a school district because you have children, or you want it close to where you work. Whatever your requirements are for your home, this is when you tell your agent what those things are so that he or she can research the areas that you're interested in. They're going to set up appointments. They're going to send you listings. If you see homes, you can send them listings, and now you guys are searching for homes. My suggestion is to not go out and look at, like, I'd say 5 or 6 or 7 homes at one time, because it'll get a little bit blurred and you will not, unless maybe you're doing a really good video, but it'll just get, I've done that once where I showed, I think it was 6 homes in a day, and even I got a little blurred toward the end of the process. So I usually try to cap it at 3 or 4 homes at one time with one buyer. That way they don't get confused and it doesn't get too blurred, and you can kind of remember a lot of different features about that house that you did or did not like, and you take your notes just so that you can make sure that you're finding the home that you really want. Another thing with the home search, go out looking for homes, not just to look at homes. Go out looking at homes with the mindset that, you know what, I'm going out to look for a home so that if I see the home that I really like, I'm gonna put an offer in on that home, okay? That way you're not wasting your time, and really anyone's time. You wanna make sure that when you're going out looking for a house that you're really ready to look for a house, and you're looking that day in hopes to put an offer in on the house that you love, all right? So the home search part is really fun. You know, it's fun looking for homes and trying to make sure that you're looking for homes that fit everything that you need for yourself or for you and your family, all right? Yeah, so the home search is really the home search. Submitting the offer. So when you get to the step, and this is like step number 3, where you're submitting your offers, you wanna make sure that your real estate agent is, you know, you like this home, you love this home. So yes, you're ready to submit an offer. But you wanna make sure you're looking at things like, what are some of the previous sales in that area for that, you know, around this home, so that you can check out to see if it's priced right. You wanna know also in the home search, like, well, submitting the offer, I won't back up. But even in the home search, you wanna know what are the market conditions, you know? I'm submitting my offer, so what type of earnest money are people actually putting on their contract? How many days are they giving for a termination option period, which I'll explain what that is. You wanna make sure you know your market conditions, and your real estate agent should be able to tell you, so that your offer is reflecting what that market is showing. And the reason I say that is when you're submitting an offer, you're submitting an offer with your highest and your best, so that the seller will pick your offer. So you want to make sure you know what's going on in the market so that you can get your offer chosen. All right. So you want to look at things like, what are the recent sales in the area? Again, what is the proper earnest money and the proper option fee that I need to actually give? You want to submit your highest and best, because just like you're looking at this home, there's other buyers looking at this home. And you have to think like a seller is thinking. A seller is trying to get the most money that they can get in net from the sale of their home, just like you would if you were selling your home. So you want to make sure your offer is pretty good. You know, you want to make sure that it reflects very good. Now, we have been seeing lots of offers in this particular market. Just to kind of touch on the market just really quickly, at least here in Texas, things are shifting just a little bit, but you know, we're seeing, you know what, I'm going to save that for another video. But submitting the offer, making sure you know what the market conditions are so that you're submitting the best offer that you can based on what you can afford, and also based on what you want to pay for the house, because bottom line, you offer what you want to pay for the home. So, but you want to know the market conditions, like, you know, what, like I mentioned, what earnest money percentage is good, how many days do they want to see on offers, in terms of how quickly I can get, you know, my loan approved, meaning your final approval from the underwriter. How quick can I get that done, and what number can I put on that contract so that when I submit my offer, it looks like, oh, well, this person's lender is going to actually have us an answer back as to whether, if, you know, this buyer can or cannot move forward within like 10 days. So you want to make sure that when you're submitting your offer that, you know, that's in there. So you want to make sure you're paying attention. I'll back up and give you some examples. Pay attention to what you're offering, because again, a seller is always wanting to net as much as they can. You also want to look at, how much earnest money am I, you know, needing to put down for this offer? How many days for the termination option period? How much money for the option period? How quick can my lender get my loan approved? You know, what number can I put in there so that I'm looking a little bit better than maybe the next buyer? What else? Am I asking for any closing costs? In this market, I can honestly say, in the Dallas-Fort Worth area in Texas, you're not seeing sellers pay closing costs. I mean, sometimes, but right now that's not something we're putting on there, you know? Am I going to ask for a home warranty? So again, I won't go into every scenario, but when you're submitting an offer, just making sure that you talk it over with your real estate agent and you make sure that you understand what the market conditions are, so that the seller is looking at your offer. You don't want your offer to just be thrown over at the bottom of the pack, you know, which sometimes you never know why a seller chooses an offer anyway. Most times it's because they're netting the most, they're closing the quickest. You know, what's your closing date? Can you close in 10 days? Can you close in 21 days? Or does your lender need 30 days or 45 days? So just think about that when you're submitting your offer, okay? I think I spent a lot of time on that. I wasn't intending to. Now your next step, which is step number 4, is your offer is accepted. Now, if your offer is not accepted, you just keep searching and you just keep doing this, and then you keep submitting your offers until you get your offer accepted, which is number 4. So when your offer is accepted, yay, congrats. Although I really just say congratulations once you get your keys. Once your underwriter at the lender gives you the final approval. But yay, you know, your offer is accepted, and especially in this market, because right now it's just crazy, but it's still fun and you'll still get your house. But time is of the essence when your contract's accepted, when your offer is accepted, because in Texas, we have 3 days after an executed contract to get option fee, which I'm going to talk about next, after earnest money. But your earnest money and your option fee, those are things that I talked about as upfront monies. That's why you need to make sure you have that upfront money, because if you don't have that upfront money and your offer's accepted, you're in breach of contract if you can't get that money, because you're supposed to have it to the title company within 3 days of execution. So that's why I have that conversation up front. Anyway, I digress. But once it's accepted, time is of the essence. And there's a couple of things I want you to keep in mind that you need to do. So one is you have to get the earnest money to the title company. Your real estate agent will help you do that along with the title company. You have to get your option fee. If you offered an option fee to the title company, you'll get help from the realtor and the title company to do that. And then third, you need to make sure if you are getting an inspection, which I suggest you do. Some people don't. I have run into buyers, they can do a lot of their own types of repairs and contract work, or they have people they know, so they're not really that concerned about it. But for the average person like myself, I suggest you get an inspection. And so you're gonna need to get that done within your termination option period, which is why you're paying the termination option fee, which I'll get into that. I'm not gonna get into it here. But yeah, time is of the essence. You wanna get those 3 things done as quick as possible, because 2 of them have to be done in 3 days, and then whatever time you set for your termination option period, you wanna get your inspection done within that time, and that way you have some time to negotiate repairs and all of that. Okay, so moving on to earnest money, that's number 5. You take your earnest money to the title company, or they tell you how you can pay that. Certified funds is the 1% of the sales price. And normally with your earnest money, the good thing about it, you get a credit for that back at closing, as long as you don't breach your contract, meaning you've stayed within those 4 corners and you have not done anything outside of the contract, which if you have a good agent, they're gonna help you to make sure that you don't do anything that where you don't get your earnest money back if you decide to terminate this contract. But you will get a credit for that back at closing. So it's not like it's going off into la la land and you will never see it again. You will get that back at closing in the form of a credit, okay? Then number 6, I hope you guys are writing these down. And remember, jot down any questions besides any of them. I hope I'm explaining everything clear enough so that it all makes sense. But, and this is, like I said, the whole home buying process. You've been pre-approved and now you've got an executed contract, and that's what we want, an executed contract, and then we really want our keys. But now also number 6 is the termination option fee. So that's the fee that you're actually taking to the title company as well. Again, that's going to be a set amount that you'll discuss with your real estate agent depending on market conditions, as well as a set amount of days that you have to actually terminate the contract for any reason. You don't even have to have a reason that you give to the seller. It's just, hey, Mr. Seller, you're agreeing that for 7 days, usually you're taking time to get your inspection, but within 7 days, I'm paying you this amount of money that within this many days, I can tell you that I am going to move forward with the contract or I'm going to terminate. So that's the termination option fee and termination option period. That's what that means. It just gives you a way to not move forward with the contract by paying the seller that amount. If you decide to terminate, the seller keeps that fee. If you don't terminate, then you see that fee as a credit at closing also, all right? We will move on to number 7, your inspection. Now, the reason I put the inspection after the termination option fee and period is because usually people get their inspections during this time, and that gives you time to get your inspection. Your inspector will look the house over from top to bottom. Usually the inspector is at the home a couple of hours and they're looking for everything. They check light switches, they check ceiling fans, they check, goodness, everything. They look at your foundation. They're not foundation specialists, so they're not licensed in that, but they can give you information if they see cracks or if there's any like issues that would make them think there's foundation. They look at the appliances. They look at everything. They work for you. So they will also put together a report, and then that report goes to you and as well your real estate agent, as long as you okay that because you paid for it. And then you and the real estate agent go over that to see what do I need to actually ask the seller to repair, or am I going to do something different in terms of repair? You know, will I ask for something else in lieu of repairs? But anyway, you guys decide during this period, because again, you get to terminate within this termination option period. But that is pretty much what that's used for. Sometimes if people don't get inspections, they don't even do a termination option period, and they don't have to pay that fee, you know. So you just have to decide what you're going to do, but that's what you use that for. So that's the inspection. The inspector works for you. You will pay the inspector, which is another one of the upfront costs I talked about, but you will pay that inspector when they complete the work. Usually the inspector will ask you to come out like the last hour that they're there so they can walk you through the entire house and tell you what they found. All right, but they work for you. And I've already kind of talked about the repair request, but that's number 8. Once the report comes, that's when you talk about the repairs, and then you submit any kind of repair request to the seller and kind of negotiate and see if the seller will or will not work with you on that. And then you kind of move on from there, deciding if you're going to move forward or terminate the contract. So hopefully you and the seller can come to a good meeting of the minds and you'll move forward. All right, number 9 in the process, I've mentioned the title company a couple of times because that's who actually holds, they're like a third party. They are just a third party. They don't work for anyone. But they do the title policy, and the title policy is something that you will receive from the title company. You'll receive the title commitment. And usually the main thing that you look for on the title commitment, I usually look at Schedule C. So Schedule C will let you know if there's any liens or judgments or anything against that property that may need to be taken care of by the seller. And it also is good because if there's anything that comes up, like after you've taken ownership of the home, you have a title policy in place or title insurance, you know, with the title company so that it actually protects you from that. So it's like, no, Mr. Whoever, this lien has popped up after I've purchased this home, but this was something that was before I took ownership. So the main thing I like looking at is, again, Schedule C, because I like to see if there's, especially if I'm working with a seller, but this is for the buyers today. But yeah, you want to look at that, and it is prepared by the title company. Usually the title company will send all of that kind of information. They'll send the title commitment, they'll send HOA information to you. They will also send, I'm trying to think of what else. It's a lot of different documents that they'll send, and they'll copy your real estate agent if your real estate agent wants to be copied. And then your realtor, as well as maybe reaching out to the title company, can explain anything regarding the title policy or any other title documents that you receive through the process. All right. So we are at number 10. So it gets a little bit quiet after the inspection. And that's because usually up until the inspection, the buyer is doing a lot of things, as well as the real estate agent is assisting the buyer with a lot of things that the buyer needs to get done. Then it gets a little bit quiet, and the lender is going to be the one that is kind of taking, they've been working all this time, because your underwriter and your title company and your processor, not title company, I'm sorry, your underwriter and your loan officer and the processor at that lender or mortgage company is working on various things. They will probably ask you for updated pay stubs. They will probably ask you for this document, that document. They are definitely possibly going to pull your credit again prior to closing. So I try to tell, well, I do tell all my clients when we're talking, make sure that you do just what you're doing up until this point. Pay all your bills on time. Don't open any new lines of credit, because that could definitely hurt your debt to income ratio, which I will talk about that in another video as well once I break down each of these steps. But your debt to income ratio is pretty much just debt going out, income coming in. Which one is bigger? All right. So you want your debt to income to be low. and you don't want it to go up or for it to get over the requirement that your lender has, and then you can't close on your loan. So keep everything the same while you're waiting on your lender approval, which is number 10. They may ask you a lot of different things, but they're also going to order the appraisal. So when they order the appraisal, that's when the lender will let you know how much that is, and they will also collect that from you. Okay, so that's what the lender does in terms of the appraisal. And the appraisal gives the value of the home. So if you offered $500,000 on the home and the home comes in at $495,000, then it didn't appraise at the $500,000, which just means that it didn't appraise at the sales price. If you offered $500,000 and the home appraises for $505,000 or $515,000, you walk into the home with equity. Okay, so the appraisal is done because the lender needs to know that, hey, I'm lending you this money. I need to make sure that the cost or the sales price that you're purchasing this home for is in line with the value. So that's why you have to have an appraisal. Hope that makes sense. All right, so normally another thing the lender will do, once you're getting close to closing, there's something called a closing document, and that's going to list all of your fees. It lists all of your fees, your title fees, your lender fees, all of the fees that you'll need to pay at closing. And they have to get you that fee sheet at least 3 days prior to closing. Back in the 2008 era, there was a lot of things going on with lending practices. And so it became a requirement that for buyers to make sure they know exactly what they're paying for and what they're getting, that part of that is, hey, we need to make sure that 3 days prior to them closing, not 2 hours prior to them closing, or a day before them closing, or the day of them closing. All right, so I guess I had some technical difficulties. So 3 days prior to closing, as I was saying, the buyer has to get the closing document, and it just lists all of your title fees, and it also lists all of the lender fees and just any fees that you have to pay at closing. And this makes up your closing costs. It will also include your down payment, but you have to have this and see this so that everybody is in compliance, because that is the rule now, that you must get that 3 days prior to closing. Okay, so I think I explained it well enough before my technical glitch, but just wanted to make sure that I reiterated that. All right, and so now we are at number 11. So this is the last step. Now you're at closing day. So with closing day, you will need to make sure that you have your driver's license, because they want to make sure you're who you are, make sure there's no fraudulent things going on. And then there are mobile closings, like if you cannot go to the title company to close, there are remote closings, so you can definitely work those details out with the title company so that they can make sure that they can arrange and schedule a mobile closer for you, and that way you can close. The title company will print out all of the documentation once they get all of the loan package documents from your lender. All right, so remote closings are possible. Just talk to the title company, they can set that up. Make sure you have your driver's license for closing. You will sign all that paperwork there. They will also let you know once you get your closing document how much you need to bring to closing, and that'll need to be done in the form of a cashier's check. And once you've signed that last document and the lender has funded your deal, you are a homeowner. So I know this was a lot of information. Definitely give me your questions. I thank you for listening. I will probably do another video similar to this later, because this one was not exactly how I wanted it to turn out, but I wanted to make sure you got this information. So thank you for watching. Hit the like button, subscribe, hit the notification bell so you don't miss the next video, and have a super rest of your day.